Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Minor Obsession. Scott Lieberman, Sean Newton, and we've got a lot of sports to cover today. We've got football, basketball, soccer, and who knows what else. There's always lots of stuff to cover. But let's start with football. We've got a bye week coming up, and man, what a great time for that. Big win against UTEP, and if you listen to the show, we predict that it was a lock for the under, or a lock for the over. No, was it under or over?
I had under, you had over.
No, we had the same score.
Did we? Oh,
Yeah.
Then we both had under.
Yeah, it was a lock for the under and a lock for the 49ers covering the 14 points. We were wrong on all that, but thank God the 49ers won the game.
No, the under was good.
Well, I mean, it wasn't because we said they both were locks. So technically, if you're Seth Mertz out there listening to Sean Newton's advice, it didn't really work out for you because you parlayed it.
To be fair, I told him I was most confident about the under, so that's all I'm taking credit for.
Fair enough. Well, it started off real bad where the under didn't look good and definitely the 49ers didn't look good. 14-0 against a pretty bad team, and fortunately, we weathered the storm, came back, won the game. And now bowl projections are getting even more and more ridiculous, which makes me really excited because, yeah, a Charlotte Bowl, the Belk Bowl, would be really cool. But a bowl game where we play Chapel Hill, that's pretty fun too.
Yeah, that's a cool one. So for people who don't pay attention regularly, Shreveport, Louisiana is a bowl game, ACC versus Conference USA. Current prediction from CBS Sports, Chapel Hill versus Charlotte. I saw some people say, which I have to tend to agree with, awesome matchup, probably going to be a lower attended bowl with two North Carolina schools traveling all the way to Shreveport, Louisiana. But I feel like that would be a Charlotte home game. We probably travel better than they do for that one. But definitely a really inspiring win. So we talked about the week before against Middle Tennessee being a complete game win. This one was special to me for a different reason. We dug ourselves in a hole, 14-0 in the first quarter, and that's tough. You come out, you let a bad team score on you immediately on the opening drive, then you turn over the ball and give them a short field. Suddenly you're down 14-0. Bowl hopes on the line with a need to win this game because then we would have had to win out the season against a tougher Marshall team. So it was really tough to go up against a 1-8 UTEP team, 1-7 at the time, and go down 14-0. But they responded amazingly. It was awesome. Answered right back, matched their touchdown in the second quarter, and then went on a 21-0 run to close out the game, 28-21. Looked good kind of all around in my mind again, where we might have gotten off to a shaky start, pulled it back together. Defense was looking good, getting some turnovers or takeaways, as Coach West likes to call them, and the offense was doing their thing, just jiving like crazy. Chris Reynolds looks more and more like a stud every day he plays.
Yep, just like I predicted earlier in the season. But,
You did. I will give that one to you. You 100% hands down predicted Reynolds was the starter well before the season started. So hats off.
Thank you. My one concern would be the rushing game. No Benny LeMay again, and the first game didn't really seem to affect us. This game 100% did. We only had 136 total rushing yards, and 94 of them were Chris Reynolds. So without Benny LeMay, that's a big hole. I think that's why we struggled and got off to that slow start, and Reynolds, like you said, really stepped up, became a superstar, threw for 350, and ran for nearly 100, which was the majority of our offense. So hopefully a bye week, Benny LeMay can come back. I think that would definitely make our offense whole again.
Yeah, interesting to see him not hit the field. So the week before against Middle Tennessee, he wasn't dressed for the game. This week he was dressed, went out to pregame warmups, and just didn't seem quite right. So That's tough. That's even different than, Aaron McAllister and Ishod Finger knowing ahead of the game that Benny wasn't even going to suit up. This game, they thought it was our three-headed monster, and then one of the heads got chopped off right before the game started. So that's always difficult to bounce back. One thing I'll say though is beyond Chris Reynolds, which this lays a lot on him, but we distributed the ball really well. We had close to 10 Niners touch the ball. Cameron Dollar obviously led the way with 157 yards. Victor Tucker right behind him with 60 yards, and Tyler Ringwood with 64 yards. So really liked how well we spread the ball around, which tells me when we have a slow game on the rushing, we can stick with rushing, but we've gotten to the point in the season where our offense is clicking enough to be able to counteract any negative effects that somebody else's game plan might have where they're treeing in on our run to try and stop it and force us to pass. They really dared Chris Reynolds to beat him, and he did.
Yeah, so back to 500, 2 games left of the season. We got the bye week this week, and then we've got a home game, the final home game of the season, senior day, all that good stuff against a pretty game Marshall team. So that'll be a big test for us. If we can get through that and get a W there, I feel really confident about winning the last game of the season against Old Dominion and going to, right, is it Old Dominion? I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll take us to 7-5, which will lock us into a bowl, and then we just get to see where the bowl gods put us. But I can tell you what, as long as it's not in like Hawaii or somewhere crazy, me and Sean will be in a car on our way to that whatever game that is.
Even Hawaii, maybe. I mean, I would be interested in going, on a 8-hour flight, 9-hour flight, however long that thing is, to get over there to see the first ever bowl game. But I would guess we're choosing something a little closer to home.
Fingers
Maybe the
crossed.
Bahamas Bowl.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We got to get there first. We need to win a minimum of one more game. 2 definitely helps our case even better for some of the better bowl games. So I hope Marshall game's going to be packed out, and it should be. If there's ever a time to be excited about Charlotte football and come out to a game, that's the game right now. So fans, be sure you come out and cheer loud. Give ourselves a good home field advantage against a solid Marshall team.
So moving into playoff season, Sean, what's going on with soccer?
So we'll start with the women who had a really good showing last week in the Conference USA tournament. Unbelievable heart from that team. I love that the games were on ESPN Plus, so we got a chance to see them. We started off as the number 4 seed playing the number 5 seed Western Kentucky, and that game was a doozy. First half tied 1-1 going into halftime, and then Megan Green got her second goal in the second half, and that was all she wrote. 2-1. It was a exciting game. We really controlled the ball well. Got to see the team be dominant and really start the conference tournament off strong, and then came up against the number 1 seed in the tournament, Florida Atlantic, and this one really proved the team we were. It was amazing to see a Charlotte 49ers team who didn't even qualify for the Conference USA tournament last year come in this season against the number 1 seed in conference and go down 3-0 in the first half. I thought there's no way we're making a comeback on this. The FAU team was controlling the ball well, had shut us out for the first half and scored 3 of their own, and then second half the Niners found life. They dominated. The ball was on our side of the field for striking the entire second half. Found the goal, the back of the net 3 times to send it to overtime, and ultimately ended up losing in double overtime off a golden goal from Florida Atlantic. But my goodness, what an exciting way to go out. And I heard Mike Hill say after the game, no moral victories, but if there were such thing, this would be one of them, because those girls definitely fought hard, and it gave us something to really cheer for in that match. And would have been really easy to just go down 3-0 and say, well, good season, but they didn't. They fought the whole time, and loved hearing people cheering on the sidelines. There's definitely good fan support there, which is always good to see.
Yeah, and a shout out to Jamie Funkhauser and Riley Orr, go Lake Norman Wildcats. as both of them were named to the Conference USA all-tournament team. So
Yeah.
they really played their hearts out and got named to that as well. So good stuff by them.
And Riley Ward definitely had an amazing second half, so kudos to her for that, giving us some good stuff to watch. Moving on to the men, conference tournament's a week behind there, so it's actually kicking off this week, November 15th through the 17th. This one's in Norfolk, Virginia, so a little bit closer, potentially have a shorter drive if you're interested in going to see the men in the Conference USA tournament there. And we're going to have some good stuff to report on. I feel good about our chances here as well because obviously we've talked about it. Dominant all year, really good defense, mostly shutout games, if not tying. So I think we're primed well for a good showing in the tournament, and then obviously making a run for the cup later in the season.
Yep, still 17 in the country. Let's get a good showing. Let's continue to be dominant in soccer and hopefully bring that first elusive national championship home. Very close a few years ago.
Yep, I believe they have a first round bye this time around, so that's good. Get to rest and.
Yep, they're the second seed in the tournament.
Yep. So we'll have to wait to see who they eventually play, but definitely excited to be able to watch those too.
Yeah, so moving to basketball, let's start with the men since we started with the women last time. So first, we both guessed our starting lineups.
You had to rub this in my face
Oh, yeah,
already?
absolutely. So Scott, 4 for 5. Sean, how many did you get right? Did you get
3 for 5?
Were you 3 for 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was.
So I was pretty close with the first, but we'll see what the starting 5 at home is and see if that changes at all.
We will, yeah.
And we'll see how we get in there. But great showing against JMU. Similar to the game against Georgia. We really had the game. We had a good lead. We were dominating and just kind of blew it at the end. I think that just comes with time, chemistry, team playing together, getting used to being in those bigger situations. But I'm hoping that fades quickly because I felt like we had a lot of those growing pains last year. But again, we only really have 6 people returning from last year, and 2 of them, or I guess 3 of them, never really suited up. So let's hope that gets better. Shout out to Jameer Young, the person I named to be a starter who started. And he was Conference USA Freshman of the Week. He had a really nice game against JMU. 16 points. He shot 50% from the field. 6 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals. Pretty strong game from a freshman in his first game of his collegiate career. First official game. On the road. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does for the rest of the season, and particularly against Davidson. If you're listening to this, you're getting it tonight. So if you didn't know, Davidson is coming to Halton Arena tonight, Tuesday, and we're trying to get that elusive Hornets Nets Cup that haven't had in a while. Davidson is highly touted. I know Jay Billis had them in his preseason top 25 as number 15, and they have 2 really good guards or NBA prospects. One that we saw last year, I'm blanking on his name right now, but he's going to be drafted at the end of the year. Probably their best prospects in Steph.
Talking about Carter Collins?
No, Van something.
Oh yeah.
What's his name?
Do we really want to know his name?
Just say his name. What number is he? Let everyone know who to watch out for.
Honestly, I can't tell you. I don't keep up with them. I try not to memorize their names. They don't deserve to be mentioned on our podcast. So
fair enough. I'm sure they don't have a podcast.
Yeah, early on in the season too, so difficult to see trends from the teams. We have Davidson playing UAB and losing 76-66 as the main game we have to go off of versus our JMU loss. So both 0-1 right now. giving up about the same amount of points. We're scoring a little bit more, but obviously different competition for just a one-game thing, so difficult to compare. One thing that struck me, I'll be interested to see actually being able to see him live at home versus having to listen to the game, is jacking up 33 threes. I'm wondering, is that in Coach Sanchez's game plan, or was that just match for match against a James Madison team who threw up 26? It seems like a lot in my mind for the type of game we probably want to play. So we'll see if that changes this time around, and we take the ball inside a little bit more. May have just been dictated by the play of the game, but I also thought it was very interesting that most of our big contributors last year didn't get a ton of minutes this time around for game one. So we'll see how that shakes out. Is the team that we saw that you predicted the de facto starters, or is it going to be more of a platoon swap depending on who we're matched up against?
Yeah, I think most of it looks pretty consistent. Cooper Robb seems to be coming off the bench and had some good minutes against Georgia. I think the big one that's kind of the question mark is Malik Martin. Now that he's suited up and isn't redshirted, hopefully stays that way. We'll see as he kind of gets more acclimated if he starts to get more minutes, because I think he was really one of the key contributors last year that's returning. So good stuff from them. We tough loss, but got 2 fun home games, Davidson on Tuesday and Wake Forest on Sunday. So try to come out, support the Niners at Halton Arena for the first 2 home games. They're 2 sexy in-state rivals. So moving on to women's basketball, we had our home opener against Gardner-Webb and dominated, won by 25.
I feel like we're undefeated against Gardner-Webb this year across all sports so
I know,
far.
poor Gardner-Webb. I feel bad for him. And then we played Richmond at home, the Spiders, old A10 rival, and we beat them by 29. Or 19. Sorry, I can't add. But either way, we're dominating right now. 2 big wins in a row at home. And, of course,
Jade Phillips.
Jade
Is that who you're
Phillips.
going to mention? Because I know you love her.
I love Jade Phillips. I was checking the Richmond stats because I know she had like 16 and 12 in the first game against Gardner-Webb.
17 and 9.
17 and 9. So consistent double-double, really showing Conference USA, hey, I'm the real deal. Why are you forgetting about me? Which I love.
And since you had to brag about the men, how about Christian Hill? She's showing off pretty good. Richmond game, 9 points, 5 for 5 from the free throw line. Getting the charity stripe going is important anytime you're going to win games, and hitting all your shots there is great. 50% from the floor. Like what I'm seeing early from her too.
Yeah. And reverse from the men, the ladies are also battling the state of North Carolina, but they're doing it on the road instead of at home. They're at Wake Forest this Friday, and then they're at ECU this Sunday. So 2 pretty big games for the Lady Niners, and I mean
for the undefeated Lady Niners.
That's true. 2-0, and I don't see why we can't keep going. I think Wake will be a tough matchup, but I don't see why we can't beat them, because that's what we do.
For the women, that is definitely what we do.
Only other thing I want to point out is Yumi Garcia broke her school record for most digs, and she got named for the 3rd time this year to the Conference USA Weekly Award. So shout out to her.
She's also, last time I checked, she was in 2nd for Senior Class Award. So keep voting if you haven't voted already, or even if you have. I think it's unlimited, so might as well throw some more votes her way.
Absolutely. Sean, anything else you want to touch on?
I'll just say that I'm very excited for the Davidson game, but more importantly right now, because it's early on in the season for basketball, so we've got a lot of basketball left to go, just a little football left to go, and man, this week is going to fly by waiting for that Marshall home game. I'm pumped for it. I'm so excited. Honestly,
the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks are going to fly by, waiting for the whole season to happen, because I think we're going to win out. I think we're going to
Yeah.
beat Marshall, and I definitely think we're going to win that road game. And then it's just kind of the anticipation of, oh my God, we're going bowling. And with the what CBS has projected the last 2 weeks, both of those, whether it's Louisiana against Chapel Hill or home here against Virginia Tech, both of those excite me very much so. So
Yep.
if we could get placed in something like that, I would assume if we win out, they're only going to get better and more exciting. So
They definitely do. The way bowl picks work, for anybody who doesn't know, is the highest person in the conference gets their first dibs on any of our guaranteed conference bowls. So the higher up we are, the better our chances of picking a bowl we want to be in are. So fingers crossed. I like the win out predictions. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll be back later next week, just before the Marshall game, to tell you what the score is going to be. Spoiler: I'm now 7-1 over the past few weeks. Scott's like 1-10 over the past few weeks. So
yeah, I think basketball's going to turn it around for me.
yeah, that's fair.
And, before we go, let me just check real quick. I don't think there is, but we might as well throw it in the machine. Normally they don't do it until the day of. Yep. I was going to see what the Davidson Charlotte line was and take a hot take there.
The hot take is Charlotte covers whatever the spread is. Money line, because I'm assuming they're going to be favored. Money line's golden, and I'm going to go with the over, whatever it be.
You're assuming Charlotte's going to be favored?
No, I'm assuming Davidson's going to be favored.
Yeah.
That's why I think the money line's a good pick.
Yeah, or the points. The points are a lock. Money line's aggressive. We could talk to Sharp Money in Atlanta about that.
I just think it's a good pick because it's probably going to be like plus 350, something like that. So
I'm guessing it's going to be a 7-point spread, and I think we cover. It just, can we close out in the last couple of minutes? That seems to be our issue through the exhibition game and the first game of the season.
that's an interesting one we've never done. Pre-predict the spread line. So you got 7-pointer?
Yeah.
Davidson favored, obviously?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 11.5 Davidson.
Wow, no respect.
I mean, respect. I just think the line's going to be there, and then we're going to destroy it.
All right, well, we'll see when we come back and give you a recap of these games, preview to the next games, and no football preview this Friday because there's no game, but we'll be back for the following week to talk about Marshall and get you psyched up for the last home game of the season. Until then, remember to wear green.
And go Niners.